In this video, I will share with you my latest systematic tests of the Oura Ring 3. Now, as many of you know, I think that the Oura Ring has been one of the best health trackers for a while now, and I even showed in a recent video how it helped me track my COVID-19 infection. However, one area where the Oura Ring has fallen short is sleep stage tracking. But Oura has recently introduced a new beta sleep stage algorithm that they claim will be a significant improvement. In this video, we'll be taking a first quick look at this new algorithm and see if it lives up to the hype. Additionally, I'll also be retesting the workout heart rate feature that was introduced with the new Oura Ring 3. In my original testing, I had some issues with this heart rate feature, and today I want to see if they've made any improvements. Now, I hope you're as excited as me to see how these new features stack up. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the world of the Oura Ring 3. Hello everyone! For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Rob and I'm a postdoctoral scientist specializing in biological data analysis. Now today I want to systematically analyze two aspects of the Oura Ring 3. First of all, the workout heart rate tracking, and second, the new sleep stage tracking algorithm. Now, I should mention right off the bat that this will be a limited initial test of the new sleep stage tracking algorithm, since I'm restricted in the amount of data I can access and transfer to my computer. Now, this effectively means I can only work with 7 days of sleep data from the Oura Ring 3, which I'll compare to measurements taken with an EEG device that actually measured my brain waves throughout the nights. Luckily, I am in contact with the team at Oura, and they'll send me my full set of sleep data from the new beta algorithm soon, which means I can share my second, more complete test in a few weeks. Now, before getting to the results, let me briefly explain how I set up the test that I performed. Now, as some of you might know, after the release of the Oura Ring 3, Oura introduced the workout heart rate feature, which allows the Oura Ring to track your heart rate during just 5 types of exercises. So for now, they only allow your heart rate to be tracked during indoor and outdoor running, indoor and outdoor cycling and walking. Now, to test this heart rate tracking feature, I'll compare the measurements of the Oura Ring 3 to an ECG chest strap from Polar called the H10. Now, I chose the Polar H10 because it's been used in several scientific studies and it was shown to be more reliable for heart rate tracking during medium intensity exercises than a professional scientific Holter ECG monitor. Now, the next step is then to analyze the data, and for this I exported the heart rate measurements from both the Oura Ring 3 and the ECG chest strap and wrote a bunch of computer code to systematically compare them. Next, for the sleep stage tracking, I compared the sleep stage tracked by the Oura Ring 3 to an EEG device called the Dream 2 that can actually measure my brain waves and has been shown to be relatively reliable for sleep stage tracking. Now, it's not the gold standard in sleep stage tracking, but it should give us a good first impression of how the Oura Ring performs and also how it compares to more than 50 other devices I've tested over the last years. But let's start off with the heart rate tracking accuracy. We will start by looking at one of the easiest types of exercises for a watch to track, cycling indoors. And we'll be looking at a total of 7 interval spinning sessions. Now, this involves very little movement or tension on my arms and will therefore produce less noise. Now, each dot here is a single heart rate measurement, with along the horizontal axis the value according to the Polar H10 ECG chest strap, and on the vertical axis the value according to the Oura Ring 3. Now, the closer the points are to the blue line, the better the agreement, and the darker black the color, the more dots that there are. Now, as you can see, though there are some points close to the blue line, there are actually many points below the blue line, especially here when my heart rate was higher. This means that in these moments, the Oura Ring detected a too low heart rate. Now, to quantify this agreement, I will use the correlation, which is this R value up here, which has a maximum theoretical value of 1. In this case, the correlation is 0.66, which is not that good, honestly. Many devices have a correlation higher than 0.9, and some even have a rounded value of 1.00. We can see that even more intuitively when we look at the individual training sessions, and this is one example right here. Along the horizontal axis, we have the time, and my heart rate is along the vertical axis. Now, in blue-green, I plotted my heart rate according to the Polar H10 ECG chest strap, and in red is my heart rate according to the Oura Ring. As you can see, though the Oura Ring is not terrible for this training session, it did quite often detect too low heart rates, as you can see for instance here, but also here and also right here. But it also sometimes detected a too high heart rate, as you can see in these dips in my heart rate right here, but also right here and right here. And there are several spinning workouts that are even worse, like this one right here. The Oura Ring 3 in red was never really able to detect the peaks in my heart rate, so that's not looking very good. Additionally, the Oura Ring quite often has missing data, as you can also see for this training session right here. As you can see along the horizontal axis, it only recorded about 15 minutes of heart rate data, whereas the whole session lasted about 45 minutes, so it missed 30 minutes of my heart rate. And as you can see, when it did record my heart rate here in red, you can see it recorded a much too low heart rate. However, let's put this into perspective by comparing it to about 60 other watches I've tested over the last 2 years. That overview is displayed right here. Now the correlation value I was talking about before is the metric I'll use for this, which is displayed along the horizontal axis in this plot. We want that value to be as close to 1 as possible. And on the vertical axis, I ordered the watches from worst to best. So the further to the right and the higher a device is, the better is its correlation with the reference device. And here I marked the Oura Ring 3 in red. You can actually see 2 Oura Rings right here. Now I always wear 2 Oura Rings, both on my right hand, but one on my index finger and one on my ring finger. And the data I'll focus on in this video is from the Oura Ring on my ring finger, since this has the tightest fit and also because I have most data for this ring. However, as you can see in this plot, both Oura Rings perform quite poorly compared to all other devices out there. They're honestly really amongst the lower end of all the watches. For me, this means I would not use the Oura Ring for heart rate tracking while cycling indoors. They're simply too unreliable for me. And as you can see, there are plenty of better devices, but some of the best ones for me are Apple Watches and also some Huawei watches. So if you care about heart rate tracking during indoor cycling, get one of these watches or just get yourself an ECG chest strap. I'm a bit afraid of the answer already, honestly, but what happens if we make things even a bit more difficult? Now, a generally more challenging type of exercise is outdoor cycling. While cycling outdoors, the ride will be much more bumpy and I'm much more likely to grip the handlebars more tightly, making accurate heart rate readings more difficult. To see how this affected the Oura Ring 3, I tested it during a total of 7 bike rides. Here we can see a similar overview plot to before, but now for biking outside. As you can see, there's an even worse agreement compared to what we saw before. Almost all the points are now below the blue line, indicating that the Oura Ring 3 almost always detected a too low heart rate. The correlation value is also really bad at 0.43. And we can see that in even more detail if we take a look at some of the bike rides themselves. As you can see, the red line representing the Oura Ring 3 is almost always below the heart rate detected by the ECG chest strap in blue. The Oura Ring was basically not able to detect the peaks in my heart rate at all during this training session. And we see the exact same thing in this second example ride as well. The heart rate recorded by the Oura Ring is not able to capture any of the dynamics in my heart rate, so this is not looking that good for the Oura Ring. And again, similar to what we saw for cycling indoors, there are also some rides with a lot of missing data, like this one right here, where it only recorded about 30 seconds of heart rate data for the entire ride. However, I have to say this was a rare occurrence, where for 6 out of the 7 rides, it did record my full heart rate graph. So this also isn't looking that good for the Oura Ring, which we can see even better when we put things into perspective by comparing its performance to that of other devices. Similar to before, we will use the correlation with the ECG chest strap as the value on the horizontal axis. And the better the agreement, the more to the top right the device is. As you can see, the Oura Ring, which is marked here in red, is really amongst the worst devices when it comes to heart rate tracking, also for cycling outside. I personally wouldn't use it for this purpose myself. And again, we see that Apple Watches and some Huawei watches are the best performing heart rate trackers. But as you can see, the majority of watches perform better than the Oura Ring. Next, let's take a look at the performance of the Oura Ring during outside running. This might actually be easier than while cycling since there's less tension on my hands. Additionally, when riding a bike, the fact that I grip the handlebars might negatively influence the signal quality, so let's see if the Oura Ring performs better during running. However, first a quick side note. If you're interested in the latest updates on the wearables I'm testing, I'm planning to start back up with my newsletter and posting more off-the-cuff things on my Instagram and my YouTube Shorts channel. So if you're interested in any of those are linked below. Of course, you would also make me really happy and it would help my efforts if you subscribe to this YouTube channel. But of course, this is totally up to you. Now, enough self-promotion. Let's take a look at the performance during running outside, which I tested during a total of 4 runs. Again, this is a similar overview plot to before, but now for running outside. We do see now that the cloud of points is close to the blue line, but still there are quite some points away from the blue line. The correlation value is now at 0.8, which is indeed the highest value we've seen so far for all of the exercises for the Oura Ring, but honestly, this is still not a good correlation value. And we can see why that is if we look at the individual runs. Now here we have the first run, and again the Oura Ring tends to measure a too low heart rate, similar to what we saw for the other exercises. It does sort of show an increase in the heart rate for each of the intervals, but it's definitely much too low in most cases. And again, we see something similar in this second example run right here. We do see some similar patterns in heart rate, but it's almost always too low. Now this final run I wanted to show you actually looks quite a bit better, though it's still not great. It is generally much closer than the other two examples that I showed you, but there's still enough deviations that I wouldn't trust the results of the Oura Ring when it comes to heart rate tracking while running. So this for me again shows that I wouldn't put too much trust in the workout heart rate tracking of the Oura Ring 3. I am curious to hear though if other people have better experiences with this functionality, so let us know your thoughts in the comments below. For now, I would stick to just looking at the heart rate and heart rate variability measurements the Oura Ring takes at night and skip the ones taken during workouts. If you really want good heart rate tracking during exercise, I would just get an ECG chest strap, or if instead you want a heart rate tracker worn on the wrist, get either an Apple Watch or one of the top performing Huawei watches, both of which also do quite well under most circumstances. But for now, let's get to the results many of you have been waiting for, the initial look at the new sleep stage tracking algorithm of the Oura Ring. Now this functionality is still in beta, so things might change slightly over time, but let's take a first look. As I mentioned, to check if the Oura Ring 3 can detect my sleep stages, I'll compare it to an EEG device called the Dream 2 that can actually measure my brain waves and has been shown to be relatively reliable at sleep stage tracking. And here I show you an overview of the sleep test results. Now for getting an overall impression of how well the Oura Ring performs, the Dream 2 should likely be good enough. However, the gold standard would be polysomnography, which you would also like to try on the Oura Ring in the future. Now on top here are the sleep stages as recorded by the EEG device, and on the left are the sleep stages as recorded by the Oura Ring. We will see how close the predictions of the Oura Ring are to those of the EEG device. Now each column here sums to 100%, meaning that we can see what percentage of each of the sleep stages according to the Dream 2 was predicted as each sleep stage by the Oura Ring. If they perfectly agree, all values on the diagonal should be 100%. And here I show you the results of the Oura Ring on my ring finger, for which I could get 4 nights of data. I also have 3 nights of data for my second Oura Ring, but I'll get to that in a minute. First of all, we see that about 91% of what was deep sleep according to the EEG device was also deep sleep according to the Oura Ring, which is actually very good. When deep sleep according to the EEG device was predicted differently by the Oura Ring, it was predicted as light sleep at about 10%. And we can see that clearly based on the individual nights as well. And here you can see the first example night. On top we have the sleep stages as recorded by the Dream 2 EEG headband with the clock time along the horizontal axis and the sleep stages on the vertical axis. And on the bottom we have a similar plot, but now for the Oura Ring. I've highlighted all the EEG recorded deep sleep in purple right here. And for this first night, we can indeed see that the deep sleep detected by the EEG headband and the deep sleep detected by the Oura Ring overlap very well. Basically, all of the deep sleep detected by the EEG device is also detected by the Oura Ring, but the Oura Ring just detected a bit of extra deep sleep. And we can see something similar for this second example night right here. And this was actually a night where I had some interruptions in my sleep, especially in the beginning of my night, as you can see right here, here, and here, which I suspect interfered with my deep sleep a bit. Still, the Oura Ring detected much of the same deep sleep as the EEG device, but just a bit extra. So overall, this is looking quite good. Light sleep agreement with the EEG device was also pretty good at 72%. If it was predicted differently, it was mostly predicted as being deep sleep by the Oura Ring at about 15%. Still, this is not bad at all. REM sleep prediction is actually where the Oura Ring deviates quite a lot from the EEG device. About 43% of what the EEG device detected as being REM sleep was also detected as REM sleep by the Oura Ring. However, a similar amount was detected as being light sleep at about 49%. So this is not amazing, but let's actually see if the rough REM sleep segments agree between the EEG device and the Oura Ring. That is displayed right here for the first example night. And indeed, we see that many REM sleep segments agree. I would say that 4 out of the 6 segments agree between both of the devices. And we potentially see something even better for this second example night right here. I would say that all 5 REM sleep segments detected by the EEG device were also detected by the Oura Ring. The Oura Ring just tended to detect less REM sleep overall. And this also means that we can see the sleep cycles based on just the data from the Oura Ring. Now you go through roughly 4 to 6 sleep cycles each night, each one starting with light sleep and deep sleep marked here in blue, and each one ending in REM sleep marked here in red. As you can see, I likely had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complete sleep cycles this night. And we are able to see this based on just the data from the Oura Ring, which is actually something that the old Oura Ring algorithm struggled with, so this is quite a good first sign. Awake detection also matched quite okay at about 77%, which is not bad at all. And if they did disagree, the Oura Ring mostly detected this as being light sleep. And we've seen this before, and it makes sense since light sleep is the closest sleep stage to being awake. Here we see an example night with the awake moments detected by the EEG device marked in green. And we can indeed see that many of the awake moments match between the Oura Ring and the EEG device. There's just one awake moment that the EEG device detected but the Oura Ring did not detect, and there's also one awake moment that the Oura Ring detected but the EEG device didn't. But overall, I would still say this looks pretty good. But do we get the same results based on the second Oura Ring I wore at the same time? Let's have a look. And that is displayed right here. On the left, we have the results we were just looking at for the ring worn on my ring finger. And on the right, we have the results for the ring worn on my index finger. Now, both of these are generation 3 Oura Rings running the updated beta algorithm. And as you can see, the results for the second Oura Ring are in the same ballpark as the first Oura Ring. Both show a really good deep sleep agreement, though the one on my index finger does even a bit better. Their light sleep agreement is very similar, and so is their awake time agreement. The Oura Ring worn on my index finger also shows a slightly better REM sleep agreement, though this is probably random variation. Overall, looking at this, I would conclude that both rings perform very similarly. But how does this compare to the old algorithm? Well, to test that, I also calculated the agreement of both Oura Rings with the EEG device based on the old sleep stage algorithm. And in this case, I have much more data to work with, literally hundreds of nights for both Oura Rings, which I can compare to the EEG device. And those results are displayed right here. On top are the results we were just looking at for the new algorithm, and on the bottom are the results for the old algorithm. Again, on the left we have the results for the Oura Ring worn on my ring finger, and on the right the results for the ring on my index finger. As you can see, the results for both Oura Rings with the old algorithms are super similar. Both show quite good deep sleep agreement and awake time agreement with the EEG device, but the light sleep and REM sleep agreement is not very good. If we compare these results for the old algorithm to the results of the new algorithm, we see that for all sleep stages, the new algorithm appears to show similar or better agreement with the EEG device, but basically never worse agreement. Especially the deep sleep and light sleep agreements appear to be better, at least at first glance. But how does this performance compare to many of the other devices I've tested over the last years? Well, to put these results into context, we can compare the performance of the Oura Ring to 43 other devices I tested in the past. Now, this graph shows an overview of the agreement of different watches with the EEG device. Along the horizontal axis, we have the average agreement over the 4 individual sleep stages, and on the vertical axis, we have the agreement of the worst sleep stage. So the better the agreement, the more to the top right the device is. And as you can see, the best agreeing devices so far were different Apple Watches. In this case, the Apple Watch Series 7, Series 8, Apple Watch Ultra, and Apple Watch SE. Other good devices include different Fitbits, Whoop straps, the Google Pixel Watch, Google Nest Hub 2 and the Withings Sleep Analyzer, though all of these are not quite as good as the Apple Watches. If we now plot the Oura Ring 3's old and new algorithm in the same plot, we can nicely see how these compare to all of the other watches out there. In red, we have both rings with the new algorithm, and in blue, both rings with the old algorithm. First of all, we see that on average, the new algorithm appears to do consistently better than the old one. We also see, as I sort of expected, that the old algorithm on the Oura Ring 3 performs about the same as it did on the previous generation, the Oura Ring 2, since both likely use the same algorithm. In general, the Oura Ring's new algorithm seems to come closer now to the performance of some Fitbit devices, but more testing is definitely needed. So based on this initial test, it does seem like the Oura Ring sleep stage algorithm might have improved. In my testing, it's not quite as good as Oura led us to believe, but it could be at a similar level as, for instance, Fitbit is at now, and Fitbit generally has quite good sleep stage tracking. In my testing, the Apple Watch still definitely outperforms all other devices when it comes to sleep stage tracking, including the Oura Ring. However, this new sleep stage algorithm from Oura definitely shows promise, and I'll be periodically testing it to see how it develops. Now, before getting to my final conclusions about the Oura Ring, and before I explain why I definitely recommend it for some people, I do want to mention some of the limitations in my testing. First of all, the sleep stage tracking algorithm is still in beta, and I could only test it on 7 nights total, so more testing is definitely needed, and I'll share that in a future video. Additionally, I just tested the heart rate and sleep stage tracking on me, and I'm a Caucasian male with a relatively low body fat percentage and with generally good circulation in my hands and fingers, so the results might be slightly different for you. I did always take care to rotate the rings to the recommended position before my workouts and before going to bed, though I might have forgotten once or twice. And finally, I did encounter one weird artifact when extracting the data. Now, since Oura does not allow official data export yet of the new sleep stage algorithm, I manually copied it to an Excel sheet, and I got the exact times of the sleep stages using the edit your bedtime functionality of the Oura Ring. I did notice, however, that there were sometimes some minor changes in the sleep stages when switching from the normal view to this view. Now, I'm not sure what's going on here, but I don't think it significantly impacted the results. Now, okay, all of this being said, what does this mean for Oura Ring users and for people thinking about getting the Oura Ring? Well, if you want to track your workouts, do not get the Oura Ring for this purpose. It just doesn't do well, at least based on my testing. The sleep stage tracking, on the other hand, looks promising, though more testing is still needed. Where the Oura Ring really shines is in health tracking. It nicely keeps track of your general recovery and your sleep quality during the night, and can also detect if something is off that might indicate that you have a viral infection, for instance. I actually discussed this in a recent video where I address which wearables are best with different goals in mind. If you want a general health tracker that also has okay heart rate tracking during exercise, the Whoop strap is a good alternative to the Oura Ring, though I do slightly prefer the app interface of the Oura Ring for health tracking. For heart rate tracking on the wrist, the Apple Watch is still the undefeated champion. So if you want to buy an Apple Watch, another device, or anything at all on Amazon for that matter, even something as small as toilet paper, and at the same time support the channel, there are different affiliate links in the description below that do not cost you any extra, and some even provide a discount. Now, if you want to know more about the Apple Watch Ultra, one of my favorite watches, I discuss this in more detail in these videos right here. Or if you're more interested in health tracking, check out these videos on the Whoop strap. Thank you so much for watching, and catch you in the next video.